These function buttons right here on the front panel of your machine are going to be your friends. There's a reason they put them within a short distance of you touching them. So let's just kind of start off and see what each of them does. First thing you're going to notice is fix. It's got a light on it. So as you start to sew, that's going to give you locking stitches. The reason fix was on is because you used the selective thread cutter the last time you stitched. So as soon as you use the thread cutter, that pops back on and it will go ahead and lock the next time I start stitching. Now, here is a few other things. We also have the foot up and down. Let's talk about this. Your press your foot down button will lower the foot onto the fabric. Well, and that's all great, except what if that's not where you wanted it and you're trying to move it? Touch that same arrow down button again, and the foot pops up about 1/8 of an inch. Watch. Now I can move the fabric wherever I want, but I can see a little bit better. And I can really find where that first stitch is going to need to be. Then I can step on the foot control and it will start sewing exactly where I've set it. When I'm done, if I want to just manually bring the foot up for some reason, you can push the press your foot up button. Notice it comes all the way up, but if you pushed it again, it goes even higher. Look how much room I have underneath there. I can get a whole finger. So if you have something really thick, you probably will push that and it will bring that foot up. Then go ahead and start to sew, and that's how you do it. Again, if you want to go ahead and push it down again, that's what makes it move. So you've got multiple uses depending on what you push and how many times you push it. You also have a reverse button. So if you touch and hold that, you will find that it will just go ahead and stitch backwards, probably more like what you're used to on any regular sewing machine. But if you touch it when you're not sewing, that light turns on, and now it'll stitch backwards without you having to hold your finger on that button. Push the button again to unlight it. Now you're sewing forward again. So if you're sewing, touch and hold, that goes back and forward on demand. But again, if you touch it once, it will light up. Now it's going to go permanent reverse. I've had people accidentally push it and they're like, why does my machine sew backwards? Well, that's why. All right. Next, let's see here. We did the fix button, the selective thread cutter. Let's do this. I'm going to go ahead and show you a little trick about this. So let's say we're sewing along. We're sewing along. Love it. If we just push it right now, one touch, it cuts the thread immediately. Now it did not do any, there's no locking stitches. That stitch is going to kind of come out if we were to pull on it. Watch this. If you're sewing along and you want it to have the locking stitches like the fix button, you can push the scissors while you're sewing and it will lock it, it will cut, and it will lift all at once. So you have to kind of know when to push the different ones, and that's something you're going to want to practice. Now, here's another thing, needle up and needle down. Let's go ahead and start to sew. And right now you're noticing the needle's always been stopping in the up position. Touch the needle down position. Even on screen, you've got a little picture with the arrow pointing down if you want to see where you're at. But when you do that, your foot lifts up about 1/8 of an inch. And then when you sew again, that foot stop, or the needle stops in the fabric and the foot lifts, making this really easy to turn my fabric. Now, if this fabric was 3 times thicker, this foot is a sensor foot, or the machine has a way to tell how thick that fabric actually is. So if it's up here on this higher level of fabric, it will still lift 1/8 of an inch, but it will lift it from this starting point, and it will still let you turn that fabric. So it knows what you have underneath that foot at any given time. Needles down, again, you can touch the selective thread cutter. That's going to cut it immediately. Lift the foot, pull that out. Again, if you want a locking stitch, you can add a fix to it. You have a speed control, so if you go ahead and touch the speed, you can slow it down. Great for when youngsters are sewing. You'll also see that there is a screen that will come up, and you can move it over here with your finger or increase it or decrease it with the buttons. So wherever you'd like it to be set, you can go ahead and do that and bring yourself back to the regular screen. So these function buttons, I want you to take some time, do some sewing like I have, and see how they really work so you can use them anytime you need them.